everyone, I'm Carol Carnes, and this is Living Consciously. Many of you probably know that every day I write a little blog called Living Consciously, and I put it up on Facebook and my own website, and I send it out to a list of people who've asked for it. It's usually about 3 paragraphs. So what I thought I'd do today is I brought a couple of them with me, and I thought it might be kind of fun to expand on them because they're short. Short and pithy. There's a lot of good ideas in them. So I'm going to begin today with one I wrote about the connection between giving and having. And I'm going to start with a quote from His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. He said, "Whatever you are seeking in life, see if you can provide that for someone else today." That's worth thinking about, isn't it? Whatever you're seeking, can you provide it for someone else? Because if we did that every day, we would soon realize, and realize means to make real, that whatever we were seeking, we actually already had. What we are seeking in the main is an expansion of it. See, this is a very key point. I know you already have some prosperity. I know you already have some love. I know you already have some health. What you're seeking, if you think something's missing, is an expansion of what you're already having. Doesn't that make sense? Yeah, it's a greater level of it. It's an increase of an experience of the thing. And how can that happen? Pay attention. If we're saying we don't have it. How can we increase anything that we're not using? You know, it's like a farmer throwing out seeds. He could not throw out the seeds and say, gee, I don't have any wheat this year. But you got to throw out the seeds, right? It's an old parable that you must sow and then you will reap, okay? So in our world, there's plenty of opportunity to expand our experience of what we're seeking by providing it for somebody else today. And then we get kind of hung up sometimes on how this is going to come to us in an increased way. But we ought to be focused on how we can prove its existence. And then things start to increase. If we're involved in them, if we're giving them, sharing them, participating in them, they tend to increase. Okay? So let's think of a couple of interesting questions to ask ourselves. Because I know people would love to see more compassion in the world, for example. But how could we ever experience it if we're not expressing it? How could we know that compassion is real if it isn't real in us? We wouldn't recognize it if it was right in front of us. Does that make sense? It has to be active in us. And in the human experience, action means expression. Not just active in our mind, but actually doing something with it. Bringing it out, bringing it forth, making it real, realizing it in the world. So if we try to give compassion or love or prosperity or creative ideas to other people, we would see how quickly we dispel, all by ourselves, the belief in lack. You know, most of the world's problems are rooted in a belief in lack. There's just not enough for everybody, and that is patently untrue. First of all, there's enough for everybody because everything comes out of an infinite field of intelligence that replicates itself, multiplies itself, diversifies itself, and expresses itself as nature. And yes, we can interfere with it, but we will be the ones that suffer. You know, people say about what we've done to the environment that we're going to kill planet Earth. Oh, no, no, no. She'll get rid of us first. She'll go on. So there will always be plenty of everything. It's just the way it is. And the belief in lack is an old idea. You know, I don't know what its roots are. It's just religion, I think. Punishment and sin and all that stuff. It's all based on lack of love, lack of substance, lack of spirit, lack of everything. So we want to be the dispeller of that, and the only way to dispel lack is to give. And the only way to have is to give, to prove to yourself that you have it. So it isn't about how much, it's about the act of providing what you want for somebody else. It's a great practice, a really great practice. So we really can't claim that there's a lack of something that we're sharing, can we? And then it builds. And so here's a little thing to remember. Life expands what we expend. So giving is an expenditure. It's expending what we have. And there's almost a magical quality to life, that it keeps regenerating what is used. And you can prove this to yourself in a really simple way. Like if you go out in the world and smile at everybody you see, all of a sudden you're going to see a lot of people smiling at you first. It just expands. If you walk into your office angry, very quickly the whole office energy changes, right? And it becomes woo, because life does that. There are laws, there are principles that say that which is expended expands in your experience, right? So the key is to see ourselves as the open door through which life flows. I talk about this on every program I do because it's the basic truth that people need to get and that I constantly remind myself of. It all happens first inside, and then it's expressed, and then I experience it. It comes through me, not to me. It's the same for you. It's the same for everybody. All right, so say this truth aloud. I think I had you say it on the last program, but it bears repeating. I have what I need when I need it, and I have plenty of it to spare and to share. Now, isn't that a great thing to know? And isn't that a great thing to realize? That whatever you need, you have it the moment you need it, and you have plenty to spare and share. We get a little bit hung up on thinking about hoarding things or stockpiling things so that we have it in the future. But modern New Thought spirituality is a way of living as much in the present as we possibly can. And so this isn't about building up a huge bank account. I mean, you could. That isn't the point. It isn't about not doing that. It's just that you don't have to. If you have what you need when you need it, wouldn't that be perfect? I think Jesus taught that, didn't he? Before they call, will I answer? Yeah, that's kind of what that means. So see how you feel when those words come from you. I have what I need when I need it, and I have plenty of it to spare and to share. What we're doing is announcing the very presence of a power for good that is forever revealing itself by means of us, forever giving to us, if you want to put it that way, but it's coming through us. And we are staking our claim as its co-creator. So, and it will go back to what we talked about in the very beginning that His Holiness the Dalai Lama said, is that if you want to experience something, provide it for someone else. And you will notice it's coming through you, not to you. But as you let it come through you and express in outside of you, you have the experience of it. Isn't that logical? I think it is, right? Okay, so we're here. We are staking our claim as co-creators with this infinite power, and we are giving to ourselves the very thing the world needs to know. And as we know it, and we take it out in our world, we become a presence, if you will. We become someone who can see through the appearance of lack and struggle to the truth of prosperity that's behind it all. And why is that important? Because you can't solve problems if you believe they're greater than you. You can't, as Einstein said, you can't solve problems with the same belief that created them. So the belief has to change. And that's really what we're talking about here. You know, Mahatma Gandhi said, "We must be the change we wish to see." It's one of the greatest quotes ever. Be the change you wish to see by acting as if it were so, taking what it is you think you don't have enough of and provide it for someone else, and watch it expand. Because it will. That which is expended expands. All right, so that was the first little essay that I wrote. It was all about the art of having. And I'm going to go on from there and include another one in the same topic about what it takes for anyone. You know, we often think of people as being greater than us or smarter than all that. But no, everybody has the same potential to express themselves authentically. What we do with it, of course, depends on our education and all that stuff. But the people who make the great innovations in life are not always the most educated people. They're people that maybe have one really good idea that affects the rest of us, and they start a kind of mini revolution. And ancillary inventions come along. Everything that goes with it shows up through other people. So they start something, and it gets moving. Those people who make these great innovations in life are people who do not accept the world as it is now. Now, it may be great now, but they say, no, there's more for us. See, it's not about being satisfied or content. That's a different thing. They're never convinced that this is all there is. It's a great old song by Peggy Lee. Remember, is that all there is? A lot of people go through life like that. This is it. It's all you get. Not true. We talked about it in the first part. Expansion comes from expenditure, right? All right. So these people who make these big changes that affect the rest of us do not accept the apparent limitation as the last word on the subject. One of the great teachers that I had, a man by the name of Kennedy Schultz, used to talk about disease and health. And he says, you know, when a doctor gives you a prognosis, what he's really giving you is a history lesson. He's telling you how it has been for other people. It is not the last word. You are the last word. We need to learn to think for ourselves and not take at face value what other people tell us based on what they believe. You are the only person constantly present in your life, and so you are the only person that has the last word. And that has to do with being an innovative thinker, seeing through the appearance. Again, I need to moderate this, modify. I'm not talking about not listening to experts or taking good advice. I'm saying after you do that, you have the last word. After you do that, you say if it's so or not so for you. So the idea is to focus on what can be, not what has been. We want to really get out of the past. Talked about it at length at the last program. That program was called Editor-in-Chief, and it was all about how we need to edit our mind so that we're staying current. So focus on what can be, not on what has been, is the advice of all the great minds who've ever come before us. All the Gandhis and the Buddhas and the Jesuses, they all talked about this. Life is about imagination and focused attention in the here and now. And you can't get around it. Everything happens now, doesn't it? Yeah. This is it. This is our whole reality. So we're going to talk more about this in the second part. Right now we're pausing for our commercial break. We've got some wonderful sponsors. We're very grateful to them. And I know they have something to say to you too. So take a listen. Come back. We'll be here.
This is a national healthcare alert from the Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or a loved one suffers from knee pain and have Medicare as your primary insurance, we've got great news. You could qualify for a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Get free delivery, and all the paperwork is handled by our accredited suppliers at no charge to you. We also have other pain-relieving braces available for shoulder, ankle, and your back. Call the number on your screen right now to immediately receive a pain-relieving brace at little or no cost.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call now.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business. According to the Secret War, banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get the Secret War free. Call the number on your screen or visit online.
All right, we're back. Welcome, everyone. I'm Carol Carnes, if you're just joining us. And we're just throwing out a lot of ideas today about how we can be happier and healthier and live more productive lives and actually realize or make real the things we desire by expending them today, by giving them today, by providing them to someone else, even if it's just a little bit. We see that we already have what we thought was missing. We already have enough love to share with people. We do have enough prosperity to give a little here and there. That proves to us that it does exist, but it does expand, and expands by the act of giving. Giving and having are intrinsically tied together. All right, so we started the second part, we're starting talking about people who make big changes in their life, people who are innovative, do not accept the last word on anything. There's never been a last word on anything. You know, there was a time when people thought the wheel was the last word on locomotion. There was a time when people thought the steam engine was the last word. The piston engine was the last word. What we were dealing with was the principle of locomotion. And then once we understood there's a principle, we learned to apply it to rocketry and space travel and submarine, every kind of conveyance that moves people around or takes us is part of locomotion. But locomotion was always there, and it's not limited, and we have not seen the last word on that either. There's going to be some really new, innovative things. Think about the telephone, you know. My gosh, when I was a kid, it was attached to the wall. And when we first got one, we had a party line. There was another family that had the same phone number. You could listen to them talk on to their friends. You weren't supposed to, but we did it when we were little. It's come a long way. Whoever thought we'd be walking around talking to Europe on the street? Come on, it's incredible. Okay, so don't think your life has any component that has a last word to it. It's never over, as Yogi Berra said. It's never over till it's over. And even then, it ain't over. Okay, so I'm going to give you some practical things. We said life is about imagination and a focused attention, if you really want to expand your experience. And there's a reason why we have a natural tendency to form groups, whether they be for prayer or protest, because we innately know that there's a great energy when there's agreement. When a group of minds, and think of minds as a field of energy, consciousness, when they get together, you know, we think we're individual people, but we're really all one mind expressing as the many, the one becoming the many. So there's a great energy that arises in a group that agree on something. And of course, it can have a negative aspect, as in a mob, but it's the same principle, right? It's the principle of cohesive energy. Now, You see it in any group where the members agree and they're willing to stand up for something. Then they really get things moving and they start expressing, and change begins to happen by gathering other people's interest, okay? So things get changed because of active energy. That's the point. And it's true for us as individuals, not just in a group. It's true for us as individuals. Our focus is what counts. Now, here's the deal. Most people don't focus on anything more than a couple seconds. It's like you have a remote in your mind and you're constantly just like changing the channels on your TV. People are doing that with their thoughts. It's like dot, 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 all over the place. Talk about scattershot. They're not. Most people are not focused on anything. But the ones who are, man, do they do stuff. Focus is how to. Focus is how to make a change in our life. So we talked earlier about how would you know compassion was real unless you expressed it? Well, if you focus on compassion and you see it as a valuable aspect of life and something that you can give right now, you begin to experience it and you make it real. It's the same thing with anything. If you focus on something, you tend to make it real. It's because it becomes a part of you. It's actually inside of us, right? So our own focus leads us into actions. You know, this is a basic principle. It doesn't always seem as if it's so, but it is true that we are only led from within. It may seem as if the outer world is leading us or causing us to do certain things, but it isn't. It's our inner reaction to it. So in the last show, I talked about the difference between response and reaction. You want to think about that a little bit. Am I reacting to outer stimuli, or am I responding from my wholeness, from the presence within me of infinite possibility? Am I responding from the love that I have, from the joy that I have, from the peace that's in me, from my compassion? Am I responding to life from those that I think are missing in the world? Or am I just reacting out of old beliefs and there's not enough and they won't let me and the world is going to hell in a handbasket, right? Two ways to live, and oh boy, it makes all the difference when you live from response rather than reaction. And you know when you're reacting because it's almost always uncomfortable. You almost always feel either anxious or nervous or unhappy or angry or disappointed. Yeah, that's a reaction. A response is joyful, happy. Maybe something happens out there that triggers the response of joy, but you had it in here or you couldn't have reacted that way. You couldn't have responded that way, rather. You see what I'm saying? It's just nothing outside of us affects who we are except what's in here affects who we are. It's a big one. I know. I can hear people arguing. Because we live in a duality of the dual nature of life. It's inner and outer. It's spiritual and physical. It's no time and time. And we're walking that fine line all the time. We have a foot in both realities. If we get on a spiritual path, so to speak, we are more aware of the spiritual than we were. And if you're only aware of the physical, you're going to live the law of averages. You're going to live according to what is going on in the world. But if you're aware of the spiritual path as well as the physical, and they get integrated, whoa, life gets very interesting. Things get really good then, because then you know you are not a victim of anything. You are the expression of an infinite life that is pure love and pure intelligence, individualizing as you so that it might reveal itself as compassion, as love, as joy, as abundance, as peace, as innovation, as creativity, as celebration. All the things that we value as human beings are spirit expressing as we allow spirit to express through us by means of us. In other words, it's not coming through us and we're not involved. It's that we individualize it. We personalize love. That's the better way to put it. We personalize it and we make it our own, but we also a friend of mine wrote a book called Give God a Good Time. It's kind of like that. We also give God its full expression. So we're supposed to, be led from vision, not from emotions, not from memory. We need to get current. I'm going to talk about that in the next show, about being really present. The past is a limitation no matter how grand it was. It was never the last word on anything. So we're supposed to think out of the box. And out of the box we're supposed to think out of is how it has been up until now. So up until now, you may have had some trouble. You may have had some ill health. You may have had some financial woes up until now. But now is the first word. The past is not the last word. It's irrelevant. Because now is where spirit is. Now is where possibility is. Now is where your true nature can bring forth the very thing you desire. So that's how new and beneficial lives are created, by focus, by understanding our spiritual nature, and by allowing the greater good to come through us by giving it to others. You know what? This teaching changed my life for the better. In fact, I can't imagine what I would have done without it, who I would be today without it. I know it can make a huge difference in your life too, and you can find out more about it by coming to our Sunday morning celebration at the Community Center in Mesilla. It's a very low-key, intelligent gathering. And I think you really would get a lot out of it by meeting the people who come, but also I do a talk. But here's the difference between me being a talking head. At the end of it, you get to express, you comment, question me. We get into the richest dialogues about what I just gave, what the lesson I just gave. It's really wonderful. And we do some quiet meditation in the beginning too, because I believe that's essential. Everybody needs it. All right, so get on our website, www.mvcsl.org. You can also get on my website, carolcarnes.com. I put up those daily blogs on there, so you can take a look at them. And you can donate to us via PayPal. It's very important. We're a nonprofit 501(c)(3), and we really appreciate financial support from those of you who value this show or value what we're doing in the world. We thank you very much in advance. All right, get my book called The Way In, and it's on Lulu, Lulu.com, or Amazon. In the meantime, you stay tuned in to your higher nature, and you go out there and give somebody what you think you're missing and prove to yourself it's already there. All right? See you next time.